right, the snows are here. That means it's time for poker. This is a fun hand. I pick up 2 black deuces on the button. Under the gun limps, another couple of limpers. Middle position makes it 15 to go. So obviously on the button, I call the 15. Couple other callers. Gets back to the under the gun limper, and he makes it 185 to go. Now there's 15, 30, 45, 60, 65, 70. There's like $75 in dead money out there in the middle. And under the gun's a decent player who I know is capable of making this move with a wide variety of hands. And I honestly believe that my 2 deuces are ahead of his range here. Not very far ahead of his range, but I really do think I'm ahead of his range. At least that was my instinct at the time. And so everyone else folds. It got back to me on the button, and I was contemplating a call. When I look at the equity calculator, it's very difficult to put him on a range here because it is so incredibly wide. But there are a couple of things that I can do to narrow his range a bit. I know he's not doing this with any premium hands because it's not really his style to limp. To open limp, and actually him open limping was a very unusual thing. He normally likes to come into the pot for $20 with a very wide range. So his under the gun range for open raising would probably be, I don't know, somewhere in the top 20% of hands. So I can actually eliminate those from his range, which I do. Didn't actually do this at the table. I was just kind of playing by the seat of my pants at this point. But anyway, when I run the equity after the fact to see if it was a reasonable enough decision for me to make, obviously I call with the deuces. I give him his range, which is 100% of hands, and I subtract out the top 20% of hands. Now I can actually narrow his range a bit more here because there's a whole bunch of junk hands in this range that he will not be playing this way. But and in fact, I should probably go back and do this. But anyway, for the purposes of illustration now, let's just give him all of these hands. Take off the top 20% of hands and run my deuces against that range. And I'm actually not in that bad of a shape here. And this is kind of where I thought I would be. I thought the chances of him having a larger pair than mine were fairly small. I was really only worried about 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, because everything else I think he raises. So aside from those 4 hands, I'm actually flipping. And with all the dead money in the middle, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Got to get your money in there and just kind of hope for the best. So anyway, that's what I do. I get my money in there, and we run it out, and his ace high does not stand up to my 2 deuces. So I took down a nice pot. Anyway, that's just a background for this next hand, which comes up here, which resulted in even further questionable play by me. I pick up 2 6s in middle position, and I choose to open to 20. Same player who was in this previous hand calls me in late position, and we see a flop of 7, 8, 9, so I flop the open ender. I think we actually saw this flop 4 ways, so generally when you go 4 ways you play your hand pretty straightforward, but I do have an open ender here, so there is a little bit of a semi-bluffing opportunity, and a couple of really bad blockers. So I lead out $60 into this $80 pot, and he chooses to make it 160, which effectively puts him all in because he has maybe $25 behind after that. Again here, when I put him on a range, I'm fairly certain he has a 10 in his hand. I don't really put him on that many flush draws. I don't know why. Just my gut was that he had a 10 in his hand based on based on my read at the table. So against a naked 10 in his hand, I'm actually doing pretty good. I give him the 10 of spades here in the equity calculation so that I capture a lot of those flush draws. Anyway, sure enough, he had a 10 in his hand. Bad news is it was also with another 10 in his hand. So I'm drawing pretty bad here. I need to catch in a serious way. Turn was a 7. Didn't really change anything. We got the $25 in on the turn. And river was the case 6. Turns out that another player at the table had folded a 10-6 offsuit, and I was down to 5 outs on the river. Needed to catch my 5 or my 6, and I caught the case 6. Won a nice pot. All right, quick look at the chart. Chart's looking pretty good. Coming out of a nasty downswing right now. It's my second worst downswing of the year. The first one documented in season 1 of the vlog. Go back and watch that if you're curious about that one. Coming out of it, though, doing pretty good. Games are great. Don't expect it to last too much longer. Let's get back at it.